So I'm going to show you how to use the new version of PowerTeacher Pro to set up your gradebook for sixth grade classes. We still have the same setup for sixth graders that we've had to do in years past or semesters past, where sixth grade kids need to be given a fresh start every single grading period, so they start over from scratch instead of having a cumulative grade that'll go from grading period to grading period. So in order to do that, we need to find a class that's sixth grade only. Again, if you have at least one seventh or eighth grader in that class, you cannot have multiple setups per class. So if you have at least one seventh or eighth grader in that class, you can just leave it set up as total points the way it is, and you don't have to set this up. But if you have a class of entirely sixth graders, then this is what you have to do to set that class up. So I have a class here that has a third hour that's entirely sixth grade. So I'm going to go ahead and click on to launch PowerTeacher Pro. Now, if you have not logged into your gradebook or your new gradebook yet with our new version of PowerTeacher Pro, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is it is going to ask you to migrate all of your data. It's going to move everything, all of your assignments, all of your categories, and your preferences and things from the previous version to the new version. So all you have to do is go ahead and click migrate, and it'll move those things over. All right, so my migration is finished. I go ahead and click close, and it's going to open up the new PowerTeacher Pro. Now, to set up a grade setup on a class, I need to make sure I'm in the class that I want to work in. So in this case, my third hour class here is a sixth grade only class. So that's the class I want to make sure I'm in. The first thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I have a category for each of my fourth, fifth, and sixth grading periods. So I can add categories by clicking on the grading button and going to categories. So this will show me a list of all the categories that I have available. All right, and so if I do not have one yet for G4, G5, and G6, I have a create button at the top. I'm going to create a category, all right, and I'm going to give that category a name. I'm going to call it GP4. I can give it a color if I want to, and I can choose exactly which classes I want to add this category to. All right, so if you have multiple classes that are sixth grade only classes, I can simply check the boxes next to every class that I want this category to be available for. In this case, I just want it in this particular class. I don't have to worry about description or anything else. I can just go ahead and click save. So now I have a GP4. I'm going to create another category. Call this one GP5. Now if I wanted to, I could go into my assignment defaults, and I could choose a default assignment. Anything in there, if I make everything worth 10 points, or most of my assignments are 100 points, I could create a default for those if I want to, but that's up to you. And then finally, I'm going to create a category for GP6. So GP6, and hit save. So these are my three categories. So now what I need to do is I need to adjust the grade setup for this hour. So I'm going to go to settings, and I want traditional grade calculations. We don't do standards-based grades in middle school yet, so we just want traditional grade calculations. And I'm going to find G4. Now notice I'm still in the class that I had opened up first. I'm in my third hour class. If you're not in the correct class, you can go ahead and click up here to jump to the correct class if you need to. But I am in my third hour class. So I'm going to find G4. And here it is. And I have an edit pencil. I'm going to click on that pencil. Now what I need to do for grading period 4 is I need all of the assignments from grading period 4 to be in one category. So I set this up as category weighting, and I use the category of GP4. Leave it at 100%, and that means it'll count anything that I put in grading period 4. I always must add it to the GP4 category, and it will count it as 100% towards that GP4 grade. And I hit save. Now I can go to G5, click the pencil, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, except this time I'm going to do category weights, and I want to set it to GP5, not GP4. So I want this to be the category weight for GP5, and then any assignment I would add in GP5 must go into the G5 or GP5 category. Again, 100%, hit save. Okay, it's saved. And now again, one more time, I'm going to go to G6, pencil, category weights, and set this to GP6, 100%, and click save. So when I add grades for GP4, I need to make sure that the category applied to those is the GP4 category. Otherwise, they will not get applied to the fourth grading period grade. Now, let's say I like to do weights for tests and quizzes and things like that. You can do that, but you have to make a GP4, a GP5, and a GP6 version of every single one of those. And each grading period would have to equal 33%, which can get very confusing. So let's say, for example, I like to have a test and a homework category, and I make tests worth 80% of the grade and homework worth 20% of the grade. I would have to create a GP4 homework and a GP4 test category, and I would set those two things. I'd still do category weighting, but I would set GP4 to be 20% homework and 80% tests, and then hit save. Not too difficult until we get to semester. More about that in a second. So again, I have mine set up simply, just one category for everything in GP4, one category for everything in GP5, which again gives them that fresh start, and then again in GP6. And so now I'm going to go to semester 2. So for my semester grade, I'm going to click the pencil, and in this pencil I'm going to do, again, category weighting. But this time I need to add all three of those categories so they all average together. So for example, I need to add GP4, I need to add category weights, and add GP5. And then one more time, hit the plus sign, category weights, and GP6. Now percentage-wise, they need to average out so they equal 100. It'll actually do this for me automatically. I don't have to mess with it, but I could change that if I needed to. So each one of these three is going to automatically average into a semester grade, so that 33% of their semester grade comes from 4, 33% comes from GP5, and 33% comes from the 6th grading period. All right, and then I would hit save, and then that saves my setup for this particular class. Now, if I did choose to have a homework and a test category, I need to make sure that GP homework and GP test equal 33% of the grade. For each GP or each grading period. So I would have to go ahead and add, let's say again, if I had 2 categories per grading period, I would have a total of 6 of these that I would need to add. Test and homework for GP4, test and homework for GP5, test and homework for GP6, and then I would need to adjust the percentages so that they would even out to be the 20%, 80%, and so on. All right, now once I have everything set up, I go ahead and hit save. So once I have everything set up, I'm good. Everything has been saved. Now, the beauty of the new gradebook is that if I have multiple classes with the same exact setup, what I can do is I can take this setup and I can actually copy this to multiple classes if I need to. So once I have set everything up for one of my classes, in the past we used to have to do this and set it up for every single one of the classes that needs to be set up with all 6th grade students. In this case, there's this little gear at the top in my grade setup, and if I click on that gear, I can say copy traditional grade calculations. And what this will do is this will ask me, okay, do I want to copy things to a new class or within a class? I want to copy things to another class. So this asks me, where do I want to take things from? So I could say I wanted to take things from GP4, and it'll ask me which class. All right, in this case, I am in my 3rd hour class, so I want to take it from GP4 to my 3rd hour class, and I can copy it to GP4 and then I can choose any other class that I need to be able to add this to. So I could find all my other 6th grade classes, simply check the box next to those. All right. It gives me the option to validate, and then once I validate, it's going to open a window asking me, hey, it shows me this is the information this is going to copy. Is that correct? There'll be a copy button down at the bottom, and when I click copy, it will then copy that for that entire grading period. Now, you still have to do it for GP4, GP5, GP6, and semester 2, but you only have to set it up for one class, and then you can copy it to each of the other classes in that term at the same time. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know, and I can help walk you through it.